also think why Filipinos live in this particular neighborhood, right? But before we go dive deeply there in that part of the story, we can talk more about the immigration of Filipinos to Canada in general. Broadly, we can paint in broad strokes the waves of migration of Filipinos in three waves from the 1960s to the present times. So, in 1967, Filipino immigrants have obtained their work permits coming from the south of the border in the US, and they chose some of the hospitals in downtown Toronto to work at. They didn't go directly from the Philippines to Canada, but through waves of earlier migrations. And most of the workers have settled in downtown ethnic neighborhoods. As what we mentioned earlier, St. Jamestown is one, and Jameson Avenue in the west side, and some parts in the suburbs, in Scarborough, Malvern area in particular. Based on statistics, there's about 2,994 counted or registered. So stats are kind of rough. We really don't know the facts based on actual immigrants, but that's based on records. And more than 30%, it's good to note that more than 30% are female workers or who graduated as nurses. The second and third wave came in blurred boundaries, because Filipinos chose to settle through different immigration programs as immigration programs have evolved from the federal system of the temporary foreign worker program and its earlier predecessor, the foreign domestic worker program. Today, there are more than 236,500 Filipinos in Toronto alone. That's based in 2011 survey. And regardless of commitments of Filipinos, if they settle here or if they move to some other places, they try to commit to sending their love, their care to their families who they've left back in the Philippines. So that's through this banks and remittance centers that they carry on and have that diasporic intimacy with their families. Who has seen here the care boxes that Filipinos have? So these are like large cardboard boxes with full of goodies, sometimes personal hygiene like shampoo, toothbrush, and whatnot. Sometimes food. And these are called balikbayan boxes or care boxes. And through these, Filipinos, mostly women actually, have showed their care back to their families. This culture also represents how intimate Filipino families are and how tightly knit Filipino communities are. I would share you one story of Romeline Saneo. She's a live-in caregiver here in the Greater Toronto area, and she's been sending $700 monthly to her family in the Philippines. That's quite a number. I think the foreign exchange right now is about 40 pesos, Philippine pesos, to $1 Canadian dollar. And with that money, the family was able to build a modest two-story concrete house in the small fishing village of Bantigue in central regions of the Philippines. In 2013, that house served as a refuge for victims of the typhoon that struck the Philippines, and it was one of the biggest super typhoons that hit that part of the world in world history. The concrete house became a fortress not only for the Saneos but also for the neighbors, and the rest of the village unfortunately was heavily damaged. So that's the story behind numbers. Our next stop will stay on this side of the road. We'll talk about the caregiver program in Bathurst and
karaoke is kind of a thing. Right here. How's that? We're good? Now I can sing. No, I don't sing. Okay, so we're going to talk about caregivers because we're right here outside of the Canadian International Career College. How many of you have met a Filipino caregiver before? Yeah, a lot of people have. And this has been a popular immigration street since 1981 when it replaced the Foreign Domestic Worker Program. And this is how a lot of Filipinos got permanent resident status, PR status. However, nowadays, as we know, the government has changed. Things are getting a little bit harder for them. But we can tell you that Filipinos comprise 90% of the caregiver applicants. So caregivers, they take care of other families, right? And they have to endure separation from their own. So, to overcome this homesickness, what do? You're alone in the country, your family's away, right? You don't know when you're going to see them next. A lot of times, caregivers will pull their money together and they rent an apartment. Even if it's just for a Saturday, a Sunday, sometimes just for the Friday evenings, they're called weekenders. And so, down the street, up the street here on Bathurst, there's a lot of those kind of small apartments, and that's a lot of times what they're used for, just as a respite from their employers. Not that their employers are awful, but just you need to get out, right? Sometimes. And you can see the presence of this in Little Manila. You can see these caregivers grocery shopping, visiting the beauty salon, karaoke, and of course, watching the Filipino channel while they're eating lunch in one of the restaurants here. So, after they meet the Living Caregiver Program requirements, then caregivers are eligible to actually upgrade their skills. Caregivers always have, mostly, they have like a college background, right? So trying to get back into what they used to do. Some of them come here and they go to either here or the Clark Ridge Career Institute, and this is a place where they go to upgrade their skills, okay? And after they get PR status, that's when they're eligible to bring their families to Canada. So, did you know that while 20% of Filipinos arrive in Canada through the Living Caregiver Program, 40% arrive through family reunification? So, let me tell you a little bit about what I do during the rest of my week. So, I run something called Filipino Talks. Filipino Talks, I work as a consultant in school boards, and I run a program for Filipino students and also their teachers. So I teach the teachers how to teach Filipinos better, and I teach the Filipino students how to do better in Canadian schools. I'm just going to share with you a few of the statistics from the last school that I went to in this area. So, out of those students, 55% have been in Canada for only a year or less. 85% of their moms came as caregivers. 97% of them were separated from their moms because of the Living Caregiver Program for 4 to 18 years. The majority were separated for 8 years. And 47% of the students were living in single mother households. So they didn't have their fathers either in Canada or their fathers are in Canada, but they are separated from their moms. They can be separated for a long time, and this has really impacted a lot of our families, a lot of the students, how they do well in school, even just how happy they are in Canada. So it's something that I really wanted to stress with you today. However, we can talk about resilience in Filipino youth. There have been a lot of initiatives in Toronto. For instance, in September 2017, there was an art exhibit called Kaya that was launched in Regent Park in the Cultura Festival. Kaya in Tagalog means we can, yes. In June, there was an initiative called Ula, which was formed for youth to build culinary connections to their Filipino heritage. And even last night, I was there last night, there was something called the Tawa Collective, which was a Filipino stand-up comedy show. That was our first one ever, and it was amazing at the Bad Dog Comedy Theater last night. So, some really cool things have been happening with the community. Getting creative about what's been going on, sharing our stories has been a really big priority for our people. So, now we're gonna go right there. We have very short stops here. So we're just gonna go right there and talk about our next thing.